Welcome, everyone. My name is Hillary Pappendick. I'm the Climate Change Program Manager here with the Office of Sustainability. And we're here for the BAT tool training. And I will start by handing over to Dan Belleville. Are you ready, Dan?
I am, Hillary. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Hillary, for the introduction, and welcome to all. We have Hillary, myself, and Ann Ludwig, our project managers, with us today. So happy to have the second day of our BAT tool training. The first one kicked off yesterday. And this is the first day of the next phase of the process. So we look forward to sharing with you what we learned yesterday and what we can bring to you today. So with that said, I think, Bart, I'll pass it off to you. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. So good afternoon, everybody. Bart Spencer, Tetra Tech. And so we're going to go through BAT tool training today. BAT tool, let me get you, there's my screen. And so, yeah, so if you can see it, great. So the BAT tool, I know it looks kind of like a bat, and yes, we do have Halloween coming around the corner, and smiling because of that and things like that. And unfortunately, people that are wearing masks, I don't think they have to go out and buy any extra ones for Halloween because everybody's going to be in masks. But anyway, BAT tool, BAT stands for Baseline Assessment Tool. It was originally developed for the community rating system, and many of the jurisdictions in San Mateo County participate in that. And so we've modified it so it can be a useful tool for hazard mitigation plan updates and maintenance. And some of you who are on the call today participated in the program 5 years ago and have done many of these. So we've done some upgrades since then. That was about version 1.0, and we're now at version 3.0. So we've made some improvements. In San Mateo County 5 years ago was one of the people who helped lead with those improvements. So anyway, going to spend a little time going through that today. So the BAT tool, just so you have an understanding, is a web-based program that allows you to take the action items that you developed when you were putting together your hazard mitigation plan annex and put those in, and then you can go through and do the maintenance updating of those throughout the calendar year. And so when it comes time to do a progress report at the end of the calendar year, all that information is in there. We've also added some features in there so that you'll have the ability to do reminders. So there's, I forget what it is. I think it's either 30, 60, 90 day or 30, 15, 7-day reminder to make sure you do your plan update in there. But what we've done is allowed it in such a way so you can go throughout the year and do updates or add action items or things like that. Currently, the plan is sitting with Cal OES and FEMA. They're in the process of reviewing that. And so we're hoping to get a short turnaround for them. It is a concurrent review, if many of you have remember from the progress reporting that we've done so far on the planning. So what are we going to talk about today? We've talked a little about the multi-jurisdictional plan. Obviously, if you're on this call, you participated or are aware of how that went together. It's 36 jurisdictions. You will see the number 37 when we talk about this because we've added countywide action plans and they will sit in there, but there are 36 jurisdictions that participated in the hazard mitigation planning process this time. That was a good effort. There are a lot more that we reached, and that was certainly beneficial because there's the possibility of more collaboration and if you will, cross-pollination. Why do we report? Well, it's useful. It keeps you engaged in the process. It keeps you focused on mitigation. Mitigation is one of the 5 phases, the emergency management wheel. And we want to make sure that you look at this more often than just like, oh, once a year I got to do this. The other thing about this, and we said this throughout all the planning process, is that this is also an opportunity for you to look for ways to integrate it with other plans that you have in your city or special district, or for you to apply for grant opportunities or funding opportunities. So keeping those action items in front of you is always a good thing. Keeping the plans or the progress reporting up to date is always a good thing. So What is progress reporting? Basically, you're going to take the action items that you identified for your jurisdiction, and you're going to tell us at least once a year what the status of that is. Have you done any work on it? Have you completed it? Is it no longer a feasible plan for your jurisdiction? What is the status? We're kind of halfway through. It was a 3-year project and we're 1/3 of the way through. That's great. How do you do it? You use the system that we're going to talk about today. It's an online tool. Each jurisdiction will be given its own unique username and password. Those are not changeable. So that way, if somebody leaves, the username and password stay static. But when you log into the BAT tool, you're going to only see your information. And that way, multiple people from your jurisdiction can log in. So if you have somebody from Public Works and Emergency Management or Community Development or the general manager, they can all log in and do the updates as they want to go through. And so we're going to kind of wander through and go through all these. All right. As we said at the beginning, this is pursuant to the Disaster Mitigation Act of 2000. And planning is one of the things that we discussed at the end, and that the core planning team said, yes, we were going to do ongoing maintenance reports. And so there are more than 700 action items from the 36 planning partners that were put into the plan. As I said, the plan is waiting approval, and the plan performance, if you've forgotten, is 5 years. And so over the course of the next 5 years, you have to provide updates. You don't need to do one this year, but probably depending on when the plan is approved by Cal OES and FEMA, it'll probably be next year about this time that you're going to have to do an update on your action items. So it was put into the plan that you have to do a maintenance strategy. It is required, as I said, under the CRS program. And we've talked a little about why it's beneficial. It keeps the plan dynamic. It allows the County Department of Emergency Management to monitor the status. It allows for coordination. This is a big one, so if you have a grant that's come out and a few jurisdictions that might be smaller say, oh, we'd really like to get together to do this, then you can have some coordination. Hopefully, County DEM can help with coordinating some of that energy and effort and saying, oh, okay, you 3 jurisdictions in the county can come together and we can do a joint application for a grant, and that would be helpful. One of the ones that we noticed that was kind of overlapping for a lot was the flood. I'm going to just say flood district. It's got a much longer name, but I think all of you know what I'm talking about. Okay. Excuse me. So as I said, you have to do the status. You have to report on what are the action items are. There is a designated performance period, which depending on when the plan is approved will determine what that is. You do need to identify what the difference is, where the plan is. And we'll go through these when I show you what the plans are. There are a few different ones. Even if an action is completed, you still need to update that progress every year. So in your first year, if you've completed an action, you still need to update that. The reason being is that if for some reason you decide to go back in and do some work on it, you have the ability to open it back up and do that work, and you can add to that. So in other words, if you receive extra funding or something like that, you can add to that work. Ongoing action, that would be something that you're doing year after year after year. So something like, fire prevention, if you're going out and doing debris removal or something like that, or fire prevention work, that's an ongoing action. If you're doing, one of the action items that we put in there was, to support the ongoing effort of the hazard mitigation planning process throughout the whole county. If that's an ongoing action, that would be what you report on there. No progress. If you haven't done anything, that's fine. You just need to let us know. If you do add an action item, I'll show you when we go through this in the BAT tool, how you put that in there. And if you remove an action, you do need to tell us why, because FEMA and Cal OES want to know why has it been removed? Is it no longer feasible? funding, staffing, whatever the reason, you do need to give that reason. So the reporting period will be set by DEM. It will probably be a calendar year, and it will just kind of depend on when the date is that everything is due. Cal OES looked at this when we did this 5 years ago. Cal OES and said, this is great that San Mateo County is doing extra work to do the reporting and send that information in. There is no requirement that you have to send it in every year. But they certainly like the fact that San Mateo County does. It's a feather in your cap. It shows that you're being progressive. It also, when you go to do the reconciliation 5 years from now, you won't have to go back and try to remember, what did we do with this action item? And I'm not even sure why it's there, and who was it, and staff has changed and things like that. So if you do ongoing progress reporting, all that information is recorded. So you can go back and look and see, oh, what did we do on this 3 years ago? The system also is going to allow you, if you need to generate reports throughout the year, whether you want to do a reporting out to your governing board, or if you just want to do an update for department information, you can do reporting, ongoing reporting, and I'll show you how to do that as well too. When you get into the system, and we will be sending you, like I said, we will be sending you shortly your usernames and passwords so you can get into it. You do need to make sure all the information there is accurate. One of the upgrades that we've done this time is to put in, you're allowed to update your points of contact. So much like the hazard mitigation planning process, there's a primary and an alternate. In the BAT tool, there's a primary and an alternate as well too. You can add action items in there. So in other words, let's say the priorities of your governing body have changed, or you suddenly found that you could potentially apply for a grant. You can add action items in there. You do need to go through and fill out all the requisite fields to make sure that's in there, so that when you go to do a reconciliation at the end of the planning period, that you would see all that information in there. And if for some reason you're ever audited by Cal OES or FEMA, you can say, oh yes, here's all the information that we have. Again, if you remove an item, you do need to tell us why. It's no longer feasible, it's not supported, funding is not available, whatever. Okay, so this is kind of how the user roles look. I'm going to be going forward. I'll be your primary point of contact from Tetra Tech. Rob and I, as you're familiar with, Rob and I participated in the leadership of the hazard mitigation planning process. Since I'm here local, I will be the person who you call from Tetra Tech if you run into issues or problems. The County Department of Emergency Management will be the client administrator. So if you generate an email through the help tab, it will send an email to them, and then it also sends a blind copy to me, so I can see that. If there would be your first line of defense, something comes up, you can call in and talk to them, and they can help you with it. As you can see, because this is a multi-jurisdictional plan, there are going to be 36 different users that are on the system. Excuse me. So I'm sorry, we haven't updated this. It is no longer a SQL server database. We've changed some of that. It is a secure environment. And as you go into this, you will see that only your information will populate. When we go into this, you'll see, because I'm an administrator, you will see that I see everybody. The person at the county who is the administrator will see everybody, and they can help out with it. But when you log into yours, you will only see yours. Here's the one thing that you do need to know: the web address, and make sure you bookmark this or save this on your computer. The web address is TT for Tetra Tech, BATTOOL, BATOOL.org, and that will log you into the system. Again, you'll be sent a unique username for your jurisdiction and a unique password for your jurisdiction. Those cannot change, those are static. That way multiple people can log into them. Okay, before we jump into the BAT tool, are there any questions?
Hey, Bart, Jeff Bolton here.
Hey, Jeff.
How are you? Hey, thanks for doing this for us. We really appreciate it to all of you guys. But I did participate in the last one. I just want to be sure this is the last BAT tool we were using. We just did once a year, and the enhancements you put into it are that we can go in all the time and keep up with it as we go. So it's kind of accurate all the time as long as we're in there. Is that the intention of the kind of how the new one works?
Yeah, so what we're doing it is, we kind of had this discussion yesterday, is I think the intent of the county, and Dan or Ann are on the call, so they can also chime in too, is this way, if we open it up throughout the year, you can go in and say, oh, well, let's update it now. Let's update it now. There will be a time requirement that you have to update, but supposedly the tool will be open throughout the whole calendar year, so you can go in and update whenever you want.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So Dan or Ann, is that consistent with what your guidance is?
Yes, we wanted it to be available to people so that they can do updates in real time. As Bart said, we will communicate with you as we're getting ready to develop the annual report, so that everybody knows there's a period of time where it'll get locked down for the annual report, and then we'll open it up for the following year.
Okay, let me see. Got to get to the.
Bart, I see one more hand up. I think that's
Sure.
Casey.
Yeah, that's me. So will we be able to be assigned multiple jurisdictions, or will we need a separate login if we have multiple jurisdictions that we are responsible for updating?
You will be given, each jurisdiction has its own. So if you're working on multiple jurisdictions, then you would use the sign in for that jurisdiction.
Okay, thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I need 3 logins is basically what I'm hearing.
Okay.
But yes, yeah.
And are you a contractor?
No, Casey.
No, it's Casey.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear who it was. I'm sorry. I didn't.
yeah.
It's Belmont, Foster City, and San Mateo.
Oh, it's Casey. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, Casey.
It's okay.
I was like, the name sounds familiar, but I was like, okay.
It's all good.
Okay. No, all right, so let me get to, why am I not seeing this? Hold on. Right word. No. I'm sorry. I'm trying to share my screen and get to where I need to go. Let's see now. Okay, there it is. Can you see that screen? No.
No,
Not yet.
Okay, all right. Oops. Okay.
There it is.
Sorry. Oop, did I lose you again? All right.
Yep.
Sorry. Well, stop. Mhm. Nope. Nope. Are you seeing that?
Yes.
Okay. So you should see what looks like the BAT tool. So what I'll do is I'll log out. So can you see that screen? It looks like a flood.
Yep.
Okay, all right, so that's the login screen. So when you go to ttbattool.org, you will see this screen. So you can type in your information here and then bookmark it and save it and log into it. You're going to see me logged in as an administrator. So I'm going to see all the jurisdictions that participated in the planning process. So let me kind of go through this. I know we had this yesterday. So each jurisdiction is listed here. It's listed alphabetically. And so we did this differently than the last time. So it's basically the name of your jurisdiction, not kind of, last time it was listed Town of Atherton or City of Belmont, and we had to go through that. And so we've changed all that and upgraded it. this time. So if you go into, let's say you go into the town of Atherton, you're going to see this information here. We picked on Atherton yesterday. We're going to pick on Atherton again today. You can see, you can go into your point of contact and you put your first name, last name, email address, if you want your phone number, agency and things like that. It is helpful if you can to have an alternate point of contact. The reason being is that when the system sends an email out, it sends it out to both people for whatever reason. If somebody's on vacation, if they've retired, if they've left their position to go somewhere else, then at least that information is being pushed out to people, and you will see that. You will see the dashboard here, the two circles in red, and the two circles indicate the status of what's going on with your various actions. Before we come back to that, let me go through and show you all the action items that you listed for your jurisdiction have been inputted and uploaded thanks to Megan. She put all these in here. So all your action items are in here. They're going to be listed slightly differently than you listed them on your hazard mitigation annex. And the reason being is that we have it specifically as 2021. And the reason is that if you decide to add an action item, you do need to preface it, use that preface of the year. So let's say 2 years from now, the city of Belmont wants to add an action item. It would need to be 2022 BEL 00 and then whatever the number is. So you will see that the action item numbers have been given a 00 or a 3-digit number designation. The reason being is that that helps with the coding and the sorting of it. So instead of it being like 111, things like that, this is doing it sequentially numbering. All the action items are in here. The other thing you will see is as we go across is the actual description. You will see the status under the review column, status review. You will see the review has not started. You will see the lead agency listed there. And then the last column you see is the last update. This is the last time somebody has updated that information. So let's go into one and then you can see, we'll go through this. So this is the action item. You will notice that everything is kind of whited out or grayed out, and that's because we haven't started the process. You will see the information here, the instructions here. Believe it or not, it's helpful to follow the instructions. So in here for the reviewer, you're going to put in your name. And once you do that and hit the tab or move over, you will notice that everything below that has come to life or is gone from being highlighted or dark or whited out. So now you can actually go in and do something about it. The reason being is we want to know who's doing the reviewing. So that's really important. This will be recorded. So make sure if you're reporting on an agency that you put your name in, that you're a person who is authorized from that agency, from that jurisdiction to update the plan. Your name will be recorded here. Okay, so moving across to step 2, the action status field. So what you're going to do is list one of the action statuses. Is this an update? Is this completed? Is this ongoing capacity? Let me explain these again. These are slightly different than what was in the PowerPoint. No progress. Obviously, you haven't made any changes in the progress. If you need to do this when you go to do your final updates for the year, then you can say, okay, we have this action item. City got a grant and we'll start working on this action in the next planning period. That's a comment if that's what you want to put there. But if there's no progress on it, in other words, you aren't ready to start on this action item, then list no progress. You put in your comments here. City, municipality, whatever is not ready to start working on this project, and leave it at that way. You have updated your progress report for that action item. Even if there's no progress, you still need to report that. In progress would mean that there is a timeline for a specific project. Let's say it's a 3-year project. That's in process because it does have an end date, a specific termination date. Completed makes sense, you've completed the project, you do need to update that every year and just say, yes, the project has been completed or is completed in 2017 or 2023 and more things like that. Discontinued would be, you're either removing it or something like that where we've removed it. You do need to list that as to why you've done it again. Ongoing capacity, that would mean something that you're doing on a regular basis, supporting the ongoing efforts of the hazard mitigation program. You will notice here that each of the boxes with a red star or red asterisk is something that you need to complete to move forward. So let's say we did this in progress. You are going to put the project action status here. And what is down here, where appropriate, support retrofitting, purchase or relocation of structures. That is the action item itself. If you change the action item for some reason, that can cause some issues. So I would leave this box alone. Don't add to it. Don't do a lot of modifications of it. The specific problem mitigated here, targeting seismic retrofit soft story URMs. This lists as you told us in your annex, the objectives that were met. You will notice that there's a little question mark there in a circle that will tell you what you need to do. So, please separate each of those by a comma. The lead agency, the priority, the support agency. The support agency can be, anybody that's participating in the county. It should be a government entity. Benefits, all this is based upon the information that you provided. Now, if you want to change this in here, you have the ability during the maintenance period to change this and say, oh, well, we want to change the benefits. This gives you a drop-down menu if you want to change this. So if the overall project has decreased in its size, you can change the benefits. You can change the costs. You can describe the benefits if you want to add extra. You can detail the estimated costs. You can change the source of funding. You can change the timeline. So the timeline, if you want to go to a different timeline, let's say, oh yes, we suddenly want to push this out more than 5 years, then you can change that there. The other thing that's on here is the geolocation. So if you want to geolocate a specific location, you can go into your, it's an ArcGIS map, and you do need to put your information in here. Yesterday, I think what we did, we put it in here, and this will show the location. You can move the pointer if you want, but if you want to do this, this will do a geolocation of your project. Okay, CRS category would only apply to those that are CRS projects. Any questions so far? I don't want to go too fast. If you've done this before, I get it. Okay. When you're finished with this, you're going to hit one of two buttons at the bottom of the page here. One says Save Draft. The other says Save and Submit. Let's say, we'll go back to Jeff's question, is let's say in June of next year, Como Fire District wants to go through and update something, one of their action items. And they're like, okay, well, we're not quite finished on this, but we want to do this. Jeff is going to hit Save Draft. And what that does is it keeps the status update active. When he's finished, let's say in December, he's done all the updating he wants to do. He's either added to it or no, what I wrote in June is sufficient. He's going to hit Save and Submit. Save and Submit saves it, and it submits it to the system. If for some reason you hit Save and Submit by accident, then you need to call me or you need to email me or something like that so I can go through and undo it. Or somebody from the county, I believe, might be able to undo it. but that's going to kind of memorialize it. And to get it undone, it just takes a little effort. Not a big deal, but it's beyond what you can do. My suggestion is until you're completely finished with working on an action item for the update of it, I would always save draft. This then will take us back to this wheel here. So let's go back into Atherton. So what you will see is as you are doing things, if you're doing a review in progress, you will see this bar up here changes from red to a blue color here. And you will see this change from 11 to 10 and 1. If you hit complete, then that means that you have hit saved and submit. And then this bar down here will turn green. That's the reporting. This is for every year. So at the end of that time period in a given year, so let's say we'll say December 31st for sake of our conversation. At December 31st, this whole wheel needs to be green. And if you're not, then somebody from the county is going to come chase you and say, gosh, we need you to do this. Now the other wheel over here, this will give you your action status of all the projects overall. And so as you list, when you went through and listed no progress, in progress, etc., that will show you what your status is for the overall efforts over the 5 years. Okay. So you will see that and somebody will come through and go, gosh, you haven't done any work on it. So somebody from the county may go, what are you doing? Again, there are question marks here if you have questions about that. And, as we go through this training, if you aren't remembering things, you can go through and look at the question marks here. Let's see, I think it's under resources. No. Oh, it's under about. Okay, the other thing, under the about tab on the left, you will see that there is a 2-minute YouTube video, which is listed here. You can click that. That will go through and explain everything that's in there. We will be updating that periodically, Tetra Tech will. And so that will give you an overview of all the things. So if you haven't remembered much of what I said and you get to March next year and you go, oh, I need to remember how to do this, you can go to that. The other is that, there's a contact us button here. You can click that and send one, or most of you have my email address and my phone number. You can certainly reach out to me. This is also a bunch of FAQs. If you have questions, like what happens if I hit save and submit by accident, you just need to let me know and I'll be able to go through and update that as you want. Okay, let's go back to the dashboard for a second. Let's pick on a different city. Let's go to Brisbane because I know Randy's on the call. All right. There's a button here that says click to add new action. Again, you need to add the action item number. Remember to put in whatever year first. So if it's 2023 and then your whatever your code is for Atherton. Why did it go to Atherton? That's kind of weird. And add in your action item number there and then the number and then your reviewer. So you can put in your name. Again, that will open up all these things here. Anything with the red asterisk, you do need to add in the information that's required there. If it is a CRS project, you do need to include information about CRS. If you are the lead agency, you do need to make sure that you put your information in there. All this can come out and you will see this. So let's say if we wanted to generate a report based upon all that, and we wanted to go to the hazard mitigation plan, the jurisdictions, you will see all the jurisdictions that are listed here. I see them all. You will only see your jurisdiction. So let's say we wanted to go to the city of Belmont and list that. You can then go to the date. And so let's say you want to do it from today's date to tomorrow's date. And then you do a search. It will show you all the action items there. If you want to generate a report, here's the button, you hit generate report. This can be useful. You can also use the search function. If you want to do a search, where we go? Okay, I was still in generate report. So you can generate a report for all that information. So you can see all the city of Belmont. You also have the ability at the top of the tabs to do reverse sorting. So if you wanted to do the hazard mitigated, you could. And if you want to do the source of funding, priority. So that would be one that if you wanted to, if you wanted to change your priorities, you could. Okay. Resources. We're in the process of updating this. These are all the various resources and things like that. So there is a search function tab here. I was trying to do it on the other one. This is where it is. So you can search the various different ones. And if you wanted to do all the hazards mitigated, you will see a lot of different hazards in there because we use this plan. We use the BAT tool throughout the whole country. If you wanted to do some of these, like, I don't think there are many nor'easters in San Mateo County. I could be wrong. Maybe Dan will tell me differently, but I think there wouldn't be any here. So that's probably not something that you're going to find. But if you wanted to do, let's say, there's one, earthquake, if you wanted to do an earthquake search, you could do that. This could generate all the action items in the whole plan that have been identified as related to earthquakes. Okay, I think we went through about, contact us. Admin, you will not see. Again, you will see all the plan actions, then the dashboards. So let me go through East Palo Alto. East Palo Alto, again, you will see all the action items that are listed there. So if you wanted to go through and update this, so we'll go through and update this. Again, you go through and update all these different things and provide the information that you want. This is something that you would need to do at least once a year. Questions so far? I don't want to keep people from not asking questions.
Hey, Bart.
Yes, sir.
I may have misheard you, which is not unusual. But back when you said if you mark an action item completed, let's say if we get something completed and in our first progress report, we get to check it off as completed.
Yep.
Moving forward over the course of all of the updates, do we have to revisit that again? Or once it's marked completed, we don't have to touch it again unless we're going to reopen it?
So that's a good question. Because this was a debate that we had inside Tetra Tech, and the reason that we have determined to leave it so you have to update it every year is that we found that some jurisdictions went back in and decided to do extra work on a specific action item. So if you mark it completed, the answer is yes, you have to update it. You just have to go through and fill out that screen. You don't have to change anything. You just have to hit updated so that it is updated every year, even if the status hasn't changed. Again, the reason being is that we've had some jurisdictions that have gone back in and said, oh, we'd like to do a few more things on that. And if you
basically you have to touch everything once a year.
Every year. Yes, sir. That's a good way to say that.
Okay.
Other questions? Okay. So here's your points of contact again. You can go through and change those. If somebody comes around and moves on, transitions, you can update your own points of contact. That's something new this time. Wow, no questions. Everybody's got it. They're ready for their pop quiz.
And is there anything based on, I had 2 meetings yesterday, but are there things that maybe were brought up yesterday that perhaps you and Hillary might want to share with the group that wasn't covered today, or do you think it was adequately covered?
Yeah, I think we've got a good start here. I think one thing we did discuss yesterday was that this is an introduction. We want to make sure that people are aware of this tool moving forward. We will be coordinating with Tetra Tech, and you'll get a communication from the county that sort of launches the tool and its availability for you. But this is part of our maintenance plan. We will be setting up ongoing meetings with you all, probably on a quarterly basis, to talk about things like grant coordination and things like that. So there's going to be lots of opportunities. And we also acknowledge that before we do our first annual report, we might need to do another brief training just to get everybody back up to speed. But we thought it was a good tool for you to understand early so that you knew it was available and you knew you could be using it along the way.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? I don't see any hands right now, but we do have time. Okay.
So I see one in here. So Pat asked the question, does the funding, yes. So the BAT tool is available for 5 years. We won't run into an issue like we did the last time of funding. So the BAT tool is in existence for 5 years.
I guess that wraps it up then, huh, Bart?
I do. So everybody seems to have picked it up, or they've used it before, or it's intuitive, or I don't know. You know, I think Ann makes a good point. This is an introduction, and we can go through this again in the spring. We can go through it again in the fall next year. And so, yeah, I think from that standpoint, you know, we're around, I'm around, you know, all of you know that I live locally. So it's certainly something that's easy for me to set up and do again for people.
Okay. And Ann and I, just to reiterate what was said, is, you know, I think sometimes the thinking is that we would wait until, you know, the next phase to input data. But I know from the county perspective, we're going to do it probably weekly or certainly monthly as we, you know, make changes to the things and the input that we're providing for it. So it'll be very useful to have it right out of the gate, beginning, you know, effective immediately.
You know, one of the suggestions from the last time, not to keep bringing up last time, is that we encouraged folks to put reminders, even though the system will generate a reminder. If you wanted to put calendar reminders in your Outlook or something like that, that is always something that can be useful to go in and, oh yeah, we need to update that. And that way, if you're the primary point of contact, you may need to check in with other folks in your agency to see if they need to add in updates, et cetera, as well too.
Okay, good. Well, Bart, I think that covers us on our end. If there are no more questions, I guess we can close it out. Is that correct?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, last call. Any other questions?
Thank you all for participating today.
Thanks, everyone. We'll close it out. Thank you all. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
I have to.